All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Paulzine with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be talking about the ownership leverage here for week 4. And I want to make that clear. I am talking about ownership leverage. We're not just talking ownership just to talk ownership. This is going to be actionable information that you guys can use. And just while I'm calling that out, we did have a 9 to 5 member come out and say, hey, I had a top 10 finish using the ownership leverage tool, which for me personally just awesome to see. So hopefully you guys, everyone else, has also been getting value from this video as well. If you have been, like and subscribe does help out the channel a lot, which then helps me to help you guys out. Without further ado, let's get into the fades, the leverage plays for this video. I do just want to let you guys know that I am recording this on Friday evening, and this video is going to be posted on Saturday morning. So some of these ownerships could be adjusted. And then as always, until lineup lock on Sunday, they are going to be, adjusting. But for the most part, the players that are high owned are going to continue to be high owned. So their leverage rank is not going to change too much. One player that will change is going to be St. Brown. He is currently high owned. He's out. He's ruled out. And I can kind of just see this ownership being spread out amongst like AJ Brown, that's right there, Mike Williams, maybe Devontae Adams, and then probably CeeDee Lamb a little bit, which are plays that I'll touch on as we get going. The highest owned players right now are Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, CMC, who might be out as well, currently questionable. We got Jalen Hurts, Diggs, and Jamal Williams, JT, all players that make sense in terms of like high ownership. But we're going to do what we always do, go position by position and break it down. Which players are high owned, which players are under owned, in my eyes and in the data's eyes. So I'm going to start out with the quarterbacks this week because, well, we have some high owned quarterbacks and then one really low owned value play quarterback that I love. I think he's a sneaky play apparently. But come Sunday, I think people are going to realize that he is a strong kind of value play that you can go with. So right out the bat, I do find it interesting. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, the two highest owned quarterbacks on the site projection wise. Josh Allen at 21, which makes a lot of sense. And then Jalen Hurts at 16. From there, we got Justin Herbert 12 or 10. And then we got Justin Herbert 12, Lamar Jackson 10. And I'll just say right off the bat, to me, just given their price point, like Justin Herbert, sure. If Keenan Allen was back, I would like that, kind of his safety blanket. But that seems too high to me. Like, I would rather play Russell Wilson, which sounds weird, but he's not injured. I expect this offense to get a little bit better. But personally, like, I don't see the point in playing anyone not named Josh Allen as the high-end quarterback. Okay, Josh Allen gets a matchup with the Baltimore Ravens, a team that is averaging 28.2 DK points given up to opposing quarterbacks. Then you have Josh Allen, who's averaging over 30 DK points per game. Like, it's just an ideal smash spot. So if there's one quarterback that I'm paying up for, it is going to be Josh Allen. Then you look at the matchup that Jalen Hurts has as the second highest projected owned quarterback at only $200 cheaper. The Jakes have been pretty good. So like, I don't know, the $200 difference is not enough for me to be like, I need to get on Jalen Hurts more. Like, I'm just like, that is not a big enough difference. I'm either paying up for Josh Allen or paying down for one of the value quarterbacks that could get like 20 DK points, because I do think Josh Allen's going to get like 30. The price difference that we're looking at there, could that make up for, the difference in DK points? And that's what we're looking at. Okay, it's not like Jalen Hurts is a bad play. I do have in some game stacks, but for the most part, I felt like that should be more vastly different there. And then just looking at guys like value-wise, Marcus Mariota is the highest owned value play quarterback, which, that's fine. I like Marcus Mariota a lot on this slate. We got Derek Carr getting 4%. That's not too bad. Jacoby Brissett 3. The one player I want to call out is going to be Geno Smith going against the Detroit Lions. That is a game that is easy to stack. Obviously, Geno Smith has actually been like a stud. He has two really good receivers, and 2 out of the 3 weeks, he's went over 15 DK points, 17 and 20. Like, he hasn't been bad. And now he gets his best matchup of the year at, a very low ownership at a cheap price point. Like, he should be able to hit value. And I could see a route in which he scores 20 DK points. So for me, honestly, guys, right now, especially at this ownership, projected ownership, I'm either going up for Josh Allen, eating the chalk and figuring out where else I have to, differentiate after that, or I'm going Geno Smith just right out the bat, which sounds weird to say. I can admit that, but that's kind of the slate that we have. All right. So now we're going to get into the running backs. All right. So just looking at the highest on running backs, we got Austin Eckler, CMC, Jamal Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, all coming in at high ownerships. And then just looking at some players that are inherently a little bit under-owned given their ownership leverage rank, we got Nick Chubb only coming in at 5% projected ownership. That makes sense. James Robinson, who has been someone that has been popping on this ownership leverage tool a little bit the past 2 weeks. That makes sense at only 3% owned. He has been a guy that has been a stud. The Philadelphia Eagles are a team in which you can somewhat run on. So, that does make sense popping up there. Javonte Williams at 4% against the Las Vegas Raiders, a team in which Derrick Henry just had like as a get right spot. That does make sense. Javonte Williams and kind of Melvin Gordon, who's currently questionable, are kind of in some get right spots. like Javonte Williams could easily go off. Saquon Barkley, I agree, should be low owned. He's getting 11% projected ownership, but I personally would say I don't agree with the data there. Jonathan Taylor coming in under owned. Even at 14%, probably should be around 18% given the matchup, given the projections. I do want to call it Khalil Herbert, who will most likely see his ownership go up a lot. I think he's a super safe cash play. I bet this gets up to like 10%, honestly. He should be a safe play. And even if he does get to 10%, I'm still going to be playing him. So let's just look at the logic behind some of the ownership here. Once again, I do think Derrick Henry could be a nice little low-owned GPP kind of ownership leverage play for you because he's going against the Colts, in which have been a team that can get beat up via the run game. I do think the game between the Colts and the Titans are going to be which team can establish the run first. Is it going to be the Colts or is it going to be the Titans? And then whichever running back establishes the run more is going to score, more points in that game. So, Henry could be a nice ownership leverage play for you. I already mentioned Javonte Williams. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, why would he be higher owned than Cordero Patterson? And Javonte Williams, kind of given his matchup, could easily go for more than Aaron Jones. Now, I get Austin Eckler's ownership going against the Houston Texans. That makes sense. He did get a lot of passes in the passing game, or targets in the passing game, 9 and 10 the last 2 weeks. Obviously great. Keenan Allen is out, so they should be able to feed him more. The Texans are a matchup in which you want to exploit via the run game. So he is someone that I actually could see get up to 20% projected ownership. But given how he has played thus far this season, we are starting to see that that is a little bit too high owned. That is a little bit too high owned just given the raw data that's going in there. But like I said, I could see that actually going up. He just hasn't been efficient, and that's what the data is telling us there. So Jamal Williams getting about 14% projected ownership, I actually agree with. He's the 7th highest owned running back on the slate, which I agree with. Okay. Projection wise, 12 DK points, probably going to score more than that as well, I personally think. But it is interesting to point out that you could gain some leverage by going with, maybe Zeke there. Do I love that? No. But like at the same sort of price point, is that crazy to see Zeke maybe possibly fall into the end zone? No. Antonio Gibson going against the Dallas Cowboys, kind of a dud week last week. Could he get things going? Especially in a game that is projected to be close. Could Antonio Gibson get game flowed into a great game? He could. Personally, I do love Jamal Williams. I'm not going to be fading Jamal Williams. That's not something I want to suggest to you guys, but we could see that happening. A player in which we were on a lot last week in terms of ownership leverage was Damian Pierce here. Sorry. Still kind of low priced, low ownership, 3% projected ownership for a guy that does have a pretty good matchup going against the Chargers. Like, if that defense has a weakness, it is the run game. Their corners and DBs, they're all pretty good. You don't want to attack them in the passing game. And the strength right now for the Texans is that run game. The fact that he's lower projected ownership than Josh Jacobs is kind of laughable to me going against the Denver Broncos, who the Denver Broncos are a great defense. J.K. Dobbins getting a lot of love. That's strange to me. I know his price point's low, but I'd much rather play Dameon Pierce there. And then Rashad Penny, I just got to call out. I honestly thought Rashad Penny was going to be the highest owned running back on this slate, or one of the highest owned running backs on the slate. It's kind of just an obvious value play this week at his price point, given the amount of plays he's been playing, given his usage, especially in a game that should favor the run game. The Detroit Lions they're not a good defense. They've been giving up a lot of points. So to get a running back getting, over 70% of the snaps and at least 16 opportunities, that's highly appealing to me. I don't know about you guys, but that is strange that he's only at 3% projected ownership. I thought he'd be at least 10% because a lot of people would be like, I can pay down at running back to pay up for a lot of stud receivers or Josh Allen. That to me is a great leverage play there. The data kind of sees him as being properly owned. Slightly under owned. Let's see. Yeah, slightly properly owned, actually, pretty much. Okay. So now we're going to switch it up and get into the receivers. So with Josh Allen being the highest projected owned quarterback, it makes sense that Stephon Diggs would be the highest owned projected quarterback or receiver, at 16%. That does make sense. But at the same front, like you would think Gabe Davis or Gabriel Davis would be equally as high. Gabe Davis has actually been playing in more snaps. We're actually seeing Isaiah McKenzie get that ownership that Gabe Davis should be getting. Personally, I think they'll get corrected. Like I said, Gabe Davis is playing way too many snaps. That should get corrected where Isaiah McKenzie is playing like 50% of the snaps. And Gabe Davis is relatively cheap at 6.6. Now, I know there's a lot of other different players around his price point, but that's a strange one to me. Like I said, St. Brown's ownership is going to get spread out probably to these guys around here. That makes sense. And let's just look at it. Which players are under-owned right now? Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about any of those guys. Which players are over-owned, or which players are under-owned? Diggs is actually kind of under-owned, which is crazy. That's just because he's been dominating over 30 DK points per game in a great matchup. CeeDee Lamb, I completely agree with this, guys. CeeDee Lamb at 6% projected ownership at 6.7 on DraftKings is huge. This is huge. He gets a great matchup with the Washington Commanders, a team you want to target. I like that a lot. Then we get some of our staple plays with Marquise Brown, Christian Kirk, Amari Cooper. A lot of these high floor guys, a lot of these high-end target, snap efficient guys where they're playing like 90% of the snaps are coming in undervalued. And that makes sense given their price point, given their floor, given their consistency, and their projected ownership not being that high. It makes sense that they'd be players that you could gauge some leverage on. And then just going through it by the salary, just calling it out that way. You know, Keenan Allen, he has been ruled out, so Mike Williams is going to soak up some of his ownership. And I think Josh Palmer, who's pretty cheap, should, be higher owned. He's a guy that got screwed out of a touchdown late at the end of the game last week, and he is someone, just given his workload, given his production, I'm just going to be playing. It's a super easy play, I think. I would say these players are all properly owned for the most part on the top end. This is kind of interesting. Greg Dortch and Noah Brown, who have been two kind of value price point plays that you've been playing a little bit, I'm sure. Both coming in at sub-projected 6% ownership. They've been consistent. They've been playing a lot, 80% of the snaps. The player ahead of them's injured, Michael Gallup, and now AJ Green for Greg Dortch. They should have a safe floor. Like Greg Dortch is playing a lot, getting targeted a lot. Obviously, the Cardinals offense is something that you like. And then Noah Brown in that matchup against Washington is a matchup that you want to be attacking. So I actually like that. I agree with his leverage rank there. That's pretty solid. Romeo Doubs is interesting, and I do want to call this out because I could see him starting to gain steam as the week goes on. He played in 80% of the snaps last week for the Green Bay Packers because Christian Watson was out. That offense worked a little differently. When Christian Watson was active, you saw him doing a lot of motion across the line at the line of scrimmage, just motioning across so that Aaron Rodgers could see kind of where the run strength of the play should go. I could see a path in which Romeo Doubs doesn't get those snaps and thus doesn't get those targets because of Christian Watson playing more. Like, that's a strange one to me. And then tight end wise, they are always going to be kind of a little bit undervalued for the most part, just given their price point. I will say once again, Tyler Conklin is someone I'm looking at given his price point. He's been super consistent, and I just like him as a play as his price point. He should be higher owned. Like I've said a bunch of times, he probably should have been the highest owned tight end play given his price point, given how many snaps he's playing, and given how many targets he's had. It just makes sense to be able to afford to fit other tight end plays. It does make sense that Mark Andrews would be the highest owned tight end on this slate because he's the best tight end on this slate. And then none of the other tight ends are in great spots, although I do expect TJ Hawkinson to soak up some more ownership as the week goes on because he has a pretty solid matchup and St. Brown is out, so you can kind of project him to get around 7 targets. But that is all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to use that tool or the 9to5 lineup builder, it is available for 9to5 members, which is $10 a month. It's mostly a PGA DFS package, but the cheat sheet's included in there and the lineup builder is included in there as well. If not, give me a like and subscribe. That does help out the channel a lot. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.